Did you know that skipping just one small spot in your daily wash could lead to infections, skin problems, or even make you feel more tired than usual? A neighbor of mine, Harold, 72 years old and generally healthy, thought his daily shower routine was just fine, but a simple skin irritation on his back turned into a lingering infection, all because of one area he'd overlooked for years. Most of us do our best. We eat better, stay active, try to manage stress. But as we age, some parts of our body need a little more attention than before. Our skin becomes thinner, our immune system slows down, and the areas we used to ignore can start to matter a lot more. That's why in today's video, we're going to talk about 5 often overlooked parts of the body that you should be cleaning daily, especially after age 60. These spots may seem small, but they play a surprisingly big role in your health, from preventing infections and boosting circulation to helping you stay steady on your feet. So if you've ever thought a quick shower is good enough, stick around. These simple changes could help you feel fresher, stronger, and healthier for years to come. Let's start with a part of the body we often take for granted, the mouth, and more specifically, the tongue. For most of our lives, brushing our teeth twice a day feels like enough. And in our younger years, maybe it was. But as we get older, the way our body handles bacteria, healing, and inflammation begins to change. The small habits that used to work for us no longer provide the same protection. And the truth is, when it comes to oral health, many people are overlooking one key part of their routine, cleaning the tongue. You may be surprised to learn that the tongue is one of the most bacteria-dense areas of the entire body. In fact, it can host over 700 types of bacteria at any given time. Throughout the day and night, tiny food particles, dead skin cells, and microbes settle on its surface. The tongue acts almost like a sponge, absorbing what we eat, what we breathe, and what lives inside our mouths. When we don't remove this buildup, it creates a thin, often invisible coating that leads to more than just bad breath. That coating can become a breeding ground for bacteria that silently affect your gums, throat, digestive system, and even your heart. One of the most common and persistent symptoms of poor tongue hygiene is halitosis, or chronic bad breath. It's a concern many older adults face, and it's not just a cosmetic issue. That odor is often a sign of decaying bacteria and sulfur-producing compounds trapped on the surface of the tongue. These gases can smell sour, metallic, or even rotten, and no amount of mints or mouthwash can solve the root problem. Without removing the source, those layers of bacteria, you're only masking the smell, not addressing the cause, but the risks go beyond discomfort or embarrassment. According to research from the American Academy of Periodontology, the same bacteria that cause gum disease can enter the bloodstream through small cuts or inflamed tissue inside the mouth. Once inside the body, they've been linked to an increased risk of heart disease, stroke, and respiratory infections. And as we age, our immune system doesn't clear out those threats as quickly. This makes daily hygiene more than just a habit. It becomes a line of defense. Dr. Emma Harris, a geriatric specialist at the Mayo Clinic, emphasizes this point. Brushing your teeth is essential, but it's only half the job, she says. Especially in older adults, cleaning the tongue daily is a simple yet powerful way to reduce harmful bacteria, support oral health, and lower the risk of systemic inflammation that can lead to larger health issues. I remember speaking with Linda, a 68-year-old grandmother from Minnesota who had always taken pride in her hygiene. She brushed every morning and night and flossed most days, but still struggled with a dry mouth, scratchy throat, and persistent bad breath. I just thought it was part of getting older, she told me. But after a visit to her dentist, she learned about tongue scraping. It was something she had never heard of before. She picked up a simple plastic tongue scraper at her local pharmacy and started using it each morning before breakfast. Within a week, the results were noticeable. Her breath was fresher. Her throat felt less irritated, and perhaps best of all, she said, I could finally taste my food again. So how do you get started? You don't need anything fancy or expensive. A tongue scraper is a small tool, usually plastic or stainless steel, that's shaped to gently glide across the surface of your tongue. Some toothbrushes even come with a built-in scraper on the back. The key is to do it gently. First thing in the morning, stand in front of a mirror, stick out your tongue, and drag the scraper from the back to the front 2 or 3 times. Rinse it with water after each pass. Avoid pressing too hard. You're not scrubbing a floor, just removing surface buildup. Rinse your mouth afterwards and repeat before bed if possible. It takes less than a minute, but this small change can reduce bacteria, improve breath, restore taste, and lower your risk of more serious infections. If you're someone who wears dentures or has a dry mouth from medications, this step is even more important. Bacteria tend to multiply faster in drier conditions, and the tongue becomes a hotspot for growth. Let me ask you, have you ever tried cleaning your tongue before? Or is this something new for you? I'd love to know what your experience has been. Feel free to share your thoughts or questions in the comments. You never know, your tip might help someone else in this community take a step toward better health. And if this insight has been helpful to you, I invite you to stay with me. We've got more to explore, including a small part of the face that most people forget, but can quietly impact your breathing, your eyes, and even your sleep. Let's take a closer look. Now that we've talked about the mouth, your body's front line against bacteria, let's move just a little further up and take a closer look at two other often overlooked gateways to your health, your nose and your eyes. These tiny openings may seem unimportant, but they quietly protect some of your most vital functions. Breathing, seeing, even sleeping well at night. Every breath we take pulls in more than just oxygen. It brings with it tiny invisible particles, dust, pollen, pollution, and all kinds of microscopic irritants floating in the air. For most people, especially younger folks, the body's natural filters, your nose hairs, eyelashes, and the tear film in your eyes do a decent job catching those particles. But as we get older, those defenses can weaken, mucous membranes dry out. The tiny hairs in the nose don't move as efficiently. Tear production slows. That's why what used to be harmless can now trigger inflammation, discomfort, and even infection. The result, more people over 60 quietly deal with recurring sinus pressure, itchy eyes, watery discharge, or unexplained congestion without realizing that part of the problem might be how clean their nose and eye area really are. According to Dr. Alan Turner from the American College of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology. For older adults, gently rinsing the nasal passages with a saline solution once or twice a week and wiping the eyelids with a warm, clean cloth at night can make a surprising difference in reducing allergens and bacterial buildup. It's not just about comfort, it's about preventing low-grade infections that sap your energy and chip away at your quality of life over time. This brings to mind Frank, a retired high school teacher I met last year. Frank was 70. Sharp as a tack, loved reading late into the night on his tablet, but he kept having trouble with one eye. It was red, itchy, and sometimes stuck shut in the morning. He assumed it was just seasonal allergies or maybe too much screen time, but his doctor told him something simple. You're probably not cleaning your eyelids. That surprised Frank. He'd never thought of washing his eyelids before. His doctor explained that after a long day, especially staring at screens, natural oils and airborne particles settle right along the lash line where bacteria love to hide. So Frank started doing something small each evening. He soaked a clean cloth in warm water, wrung it out, and held it gently over his closed eyes for a minute. Then using the cloth, he wiped his eyelids softly from inner corner to outer edge. Within a week, the redness faded, his eye felt less gritty. And his sleep improved too, because he wasn't waking up in the night rubbing his eyes anymore. As for the nose, a simple saline rinse found at any pharmacy can gently flush out allergens, dust, and mucus that otherwise sit in the nasal passages, inflaming the sinuses and making breathing less efficient. If you've ever woken up with a stuffy nose or felt like you had pressure around your cheeks or eyes, you've likely experienced this silent inflammation. Just 2 or 3 gentle rinses a week can relieve that pressure and reduce your need for over-the-counter medications. You might be asking, do these steps really matter that much? The answer is yes, especially over time. It's not about dramatic changes overnight. It's about small, quiet shifts that protect the parts of your body that work hardest. Often without any thanks, clean nasal passages mean fewer colds, fewer sinus infections, better sleep. Clean eyelids mean healthier eyes, clearer vision, and less chance of developing irritation or infection. So here's a thought. When was the last time you wiped your eyes before bed or rinsed your nose when allergy season started? If it's been a while, maybe now is the time to try. If you've already made this a part of your routine, or if you have another tip that's helped your breathing or vision. Feel better? I'd love to hear it. Leave a comment below. Someone else in this community might benefit from your experience. And if this section has opened your eyes quite literally to the quiet power of daily care, I hope you'll stay with me. Because next, we're going to talk about an area that's easy to ignore, but has more impact on odor inflammation and long-term comfort than most people realize. Let's move on. Now let's turn our attention to an area that doesn't get much attention, at least not until it starts to cause discomfort. Your underarms, of all the parts of the body we wash. The armpits are often misunderstood. Many people think applying deodorant in the morning is enough to keep them clean and healthy. But the truth is, deodorant alone doesn't clean anything. In fact, if it's applied to skin that hasn't been properly washed, It can actually trap bacteria and sweat beneath the surface, creating the perfect environment for irritation odor and even infection. The underarms are home to a high concentration of sweat glands, specifically apocrine glands, which become more active after puberty and continue working throughout our lives. These glands don't just release water and salt like the ones on your forehead or back. They release a thicker, protein-rich sweat that mixes with the natural bacteria on your skin. And when those two combine, that's when the odor begins. As we age, our skin becomes more fragile. Healing takes longer, and that means any irritation rash or minor infection in the armpits can last longer and feel worse. For older adults, the underarms become a sensitive zone, especially if we've spent years using harsh soaps or antiperspirants with strong chemicals. Dr. Susan Lee, a specialist in geriatric dermatology at the Colorado Institute of Aging, says this: "For adults over 60, the underarms need gentle, daily attention. A warm wash with mild soap is more effective than most people realize. It not only reduces odor, but lowers the risk of bacterial overgrowth and inflammation, especially in those with thinner aging skin." And she's absolutely right. I recently spoke with David, a 74-year-old retired truck driver. For most of his working life, David's routine was the same: wake up, splash some water on his face, and apply a generous layer of deodorant under each arm. It worked well enough until it didn't. After he retired, he noticed his underarms felt itchy throughout the day. Sometimes his skin would sting or develop small red patches that took weeks to go away. He thought it was just a reaction to the product, but his doctor gently pointed out something he hadn't considered. "You're applying deodorant to dirty skin," the doctor said. "It's sealing in the bacteria." So David made a small shift. Each morning, he started using a soft cloth soaked in warm water to gently clean his underarms. Sometimes he'd use a fragrance-free soap if needed, but always rinsed thoroughly and dried the area before applying deodorant. Within 2 weeks, the irritation stopped. No more burning, no more odor, just clean, calm skin. It's a simple but powerful lesson: cleansing before covering, and it makes all the difference. Now let me ask you, how do you care for your underarms? Is it part of your daily routine or something you've overlooked because it seemed too small to matter? You're not alone. Many people assume armpit odor or irritation is just part of aging, but it doesn't have to be. A warm cloth, mild soap, and a little care can go a long way in preventing not just discomfort, but infections and long-term skin damage. And for those who live in warm climates, spend time gardening, or are simply more active, this step is even more essential. If you've ever dealt with underarm irritation, or you found a gentle hygiene routine that works for you, I'd love to hear about it. Drop a comment below. Your insight might be exactly what someone else needs to try. And if this video is sparking some useful thoughts for you, why not share it with a friend or family member? Sometimes it's the little things that help the most, and together we can help each other stay healthier and more comfortable as we age. Before we move on, if you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you will. That way you won't miss the rest of this series on everyday habits that quietly support long-term health and independence. Coming up next, we'll look at one small part of the body that almost everyone forgets, but if left uncleaned, can become a hidden trap for bacteria. You might be surprised what's lurking in this often ignored spot. Let's keep going. Let's now move to a part of the body that's small, quiet, and often forgotten. But as you'll soon see, it can have a surprisingly big impact on your daily comfort and long-term health. I'm talking about your belly button. Yes, your navel. Most people don't think of it as an area that needs much attention. After all, it's just a tiny indentation in the middle of your abdomen, right? But the truth is, that little dip can quietly collect moisture, sweat, dead skin cells, and dust, all of which create the perfect environment for bacteria and fungi to grow. In fact, researchers from North Carolina State University conducted a study that identified over 60 different species of bacteria living inside the average adult's belly button. And that's just the beginning, for people with rounder bellies, deeper navels, or looser skin around the midsection. Which is common as we get older. This area becomes even more prone to buildup. It stays warmer, damper, and darker than almost any other part of the body, which makes it a hidden trap for odor irritation and even infections. Now, we're not talking about anything extreme or alarming, but this kind of low-grade irritation can slowly affect how you feel each day. Maybe you've noticed an odd smell coming from your midsection when you dry off after a shower, or maybe your skin around the belly button feels a bit itchy or red. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Let me tell you about Nancy, a warm, witty 71-year-old grandmother from Ohio. Nancy had always been careful about her hygiene. She bathed daily, took care of her skin, and even moisturized her elbows, because they deserved it too, she joked. But there was one spot she never paid much attention to: her belly button, that changed during a routine checkup when her doctor noticed mild redness around her navel. After a closer look, the diagnosis came back as a mild yeast infection caused by moisture and bacteria trapped in her belly button. Nancy was surprised. "I just never thought to clean it," she told me. "I figured the water in the shower would take care of it. That's a common assumption, but here's the truth. Water alone isn't enough, because the belly button is recessed. Soapy water often doesn't reach inside unless we intentionally clean it. The good news is, the fix is simple. You don't need a complicated regimen or fancy products. Just take a clean cotton swab, dip it in warm water mixed with a little gentle soap, and carefully wipe inside the navel. Do this 2 to 3 times a week, especially after sweating or on warmer days. Once you've cleaned the area, make sure to dry it gently but thoroughly. That step is just as important. Leaving the area damp creates the very environment you're trying to prevent." Dr. Marissa Cole, a dermatologist who works with older adults in community clinics across the Midwest, puts it like this: "The belly button may seem like a harmless fold of skin, but in aging skin, even small areas can become chronic trouble spots if they're neglected. A quick clean once or twice a week can prevent infections and help you stay comfortable, especially in warmer months or if you're prone to sweating." Now let me ask you, when was the last time you really cleaned your belly button? If it's been a while, there's no judgment here. Many people go decades without giving it a second thought, but maybe today is a good day to add it to your self-care routine. And if you've got a story like Nancy's, or if you've found a simple trick that's helped you feel fresher and more confident, go ahead and share it in the comments. Your tip could make a real difference for someone else in our community. If you're enjoying these insights so far, please consider clicking the like button. It helps this video reach more people who might need it. And don't forget to subscribe. If you haven't yet, there's still one more body part we haven't talked about, and it just might surprise you. Next, we'll be heading to the very foundation of your mobility. It's something that carries you through every day, but rarely gets the care it deserves. Let's talk about your feet. We've talked about the parts of the body that are small, subtle, and often overlooked. Now let's head all the way down to where it all begins. Your feet. They carry you from room to room, support your every step, and quite literally keep you grounded. Yet for many people, especially as we get older, our feet become the last thing we pay attention to, even though they deserve just as much care as any other part of the body. You might not realize it, but the feet are one of the least efficiently circulated parts of the body, especially in older adults. As we age, blood flow to the extremities naturally slows. That means your feet don't heal as quickly, they don't stay as warm, and they're more vulnerable to irritation and infection. If we ignore them, skip washing, neglect drying, or fail to inspect for cuts or cracks, problems can creep in quietly and grow over time. This is even more important if you're living with diabetes or pre-diabetes. For people managing blood sugar levels, the risk of developing foot ulcers or infections increases significantly. What starts as a small cut or a cracked heel could, if unnoticed and untreated, lead to complications that threaten mobility, or worse. Dr. Glenn Morris, an internal medicine specialist at UCSF, says one of the simplest yet most powerful things older adults can do is wash and check their feet daily. It takes less than 2 minutes, but it can catch signs of trouble before they become serious. He adds, "Your feet can tell you a lot about your overall circulation and nerve health, especially if you're dealing with chronic conditions like diabetes or arthritis." This brings to mind George, a 75-year-old former mechanic. I met during a community health talk. George had always been tough on his feet. Years of standing on concrete floors, working long shifts, often wearing heavy boots. In retirement, he found himself feeling unsteady on his feet. His balance seemed off. Some days his ankles felt stiff or swollen. He thought it was just age catching up, but after a chat with his doctor, George began a new evening routine. Each night, he'd soak his feet in warm water for 10 minutes, just enough to relax the muscles and soften the skin. Then he'd gently scrub them with a soft washcloth, paying attention to the soles and especially the spaces between his toes. After drying thoroughly, particularly between those same toes, he took a minute to check for cracks, redness, or tenderness. That simple shift made all the difference. Within a month, he told me his feet felt better. He walked more confidently. Even his balance improved. So what can you take from George's story? It doesn't require a fancy foot spa or expensive tools, just a small basin, warm water, mild soap, and a clean towel, and just a few moments of attention. After a day of supporting your whole body, your feet deserve that care. Make it part of your bedtime routine. Think of it as a thank you to the part of your body that carries you through each and every day. And if you have trouble bending over, consider using a long-handled brush or asking a loved one to help inspect for signs of trouble. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever had issues with foot pain or balance? Or maybe you've discovered your own tips for keeping your feet healthy as you age. Feel free to share them in the comments, because someone else watching might benefit from your experience. And if this video has helped you look at your daily hygiene with fresh eyes, I'd be honored if you gave it a like. It really does help us reach more people who need this information. And if you haven't yet hit that subscribe button, we're building a community of smart, health-conscious older adults who are committed to living well, one simple habit at a time. Thank you for being here. I hope today's 5 small shifts help you feel better, stay stronger, and enjoy life on your own. 2 feet, quite literally, for many years to come. And there you have it. 5 small parts of your body: your tongue, eyes, and nose, underarms, belly button, and feet, each quietly carrying the weight of your well-being every single day. They may not ask for much, but when we give them the care they deserve, they return the favor by helping us breathe easier, move better, fight off illness, and feel just a little more comfortable in our own skin. If there's one thing I hope you'll take from this video, it's that you don't need big changes to protect your health. Sometimes the smallest routines done with a little more attention and intention make the biggest difference over time. So tonight, when you're getting ready for bed, maybe you'll pause a moment longer while drying between your toes. Or remember to give your underarms a gentle rinse, or clean that quiet little space behind your belly button. Because those few seconds, they're not just hygiene, they're self-respect, they're self-care, and they're your way of saying, I still choose to care for this body, I still choose to live well. And you're not doing it alone. We're walking this road together as part of the Golden Wise Elders community, a space where we support one another, share what works, and keep learning every single day. If this video gave you something useful, or even just something to think about, would you take a second to click that like button? It really helps more people find us. And if you haven't already, I invite you to subscribe to Golden Wise Elders and hit the bell so you won't miss future videos. We've got more stories, more small steps, and more ways to help you live well and age wisely. And of course, if you have a personal tip or routine that's made a difference in your health, drop it in the comments below. I read everyone. And who knows, your voice might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Thanks for spending this time with me. Take good care of yourself. I'll see you in the next one.